Well, I actually never thought it was going to be anything like that. I never talked to anybody about how they were going to open it or anything. So I was like, whoever actually did do it, if it was you, Dan, bravo, because really interesting, caught my eye instantly.
Yes. I remember how cold it was. It was freezing. Freezing.
Yeah, I remember how cold it was, and then when we would take a break and go back inside the house, Corey's dad would have towels heated up and wrap them around me so I could get warmed up, and then we had to go back out in the cold again.
Anybody else other than myself have warmers taped to your body to keep yourself warm? Yeah, absolutely.
It was actually too hot because I was in the locker room and I was the one who's supposed to be the most dressed. So I was the one warm.
That was a nice reprieve from all the cold, absolutely.
I was in the Caribbean, so I was fine.
What part of the Caribbean were you in?
Cayman Islands.
Lucky dog. All right, what do you think about seeing your name up on screen? That's pretty special.
Exciting. Yeah, I went, woohoo! There's my name!
And mine was closest to you guys, so I was like, yes, it's probably going to be the most noticeable.
Yeah, when I was a little girl, my daddy ran a movie theater, and so I was always living at the movies, and I always watched for that name, Coconar, on the screen. Never, ever saw that name because it was such a strange name. Now I've seen it, and it's mine.
I really liked how it started at the very beginning because most people don't stay to see the credits. They leave the second it's... And I really like the fact that everybody was seen before. So
I liked it too because Dan gave everybody credit. Everybody that actually had a speaking part, and even the background actors, everybody got to see their name on stage. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
I actually came up with a nickname, Dan the Man. How about we go with that one?
I could do that.
I like how Dan allowed everyone to share his dream.
I love that too. That's great.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Is this the beginning dialogue? Is that all improv or was that written? Because it flows really, really well.
Yeah. Jessica?
What do you think it was?
I think it was a little bit of both.
Was scripted.
Yeah, it was.
Oh.
Yeah, it was scripted.
I was actually kind of impressed that you guys were able to keep up that dialogue for that opening scene because there's no cuts in there. There's no breaks of any kind. It's like that's actually impressive. How did you guys manage to do all that?
Thank you. Yeah, actually, part of that magic is to have a good scene partner. Chris Murphy did a fantastic job, and when you have someone to work with that prepares ahead of time and that is natural themselves, it's a lot easier to work with someone in a scene that has those skills. A lot of it, again, was repetition, like we talked before with the script. But yeah, it is a little challenging to make sure you're always just not in the moment and not realizing that there's a camera. If you're just having a conversation, if you go into it like, this is my friend, we're working and we're going to talk about, just chat it up and see what happens. So it was very cold. And here's something that may make the DVD. I actually sniffled. How many times? Maybe 20 times. You guys did not hear that because we retaped my audio so that you didn't hear all the sniffles because it was a little overwhelming and unattractive. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. And a challenge. It's always fun to have those challenges and see how it turns out.
Okay, this is one of my favorite parts right here. We have to mention this. That this was set up, and we shot several takes, but the take that we ended up using right here, the train shows up.
I actually said that in the theater because I was like, the timing that Dan had for that was awesome. Or if that was not planned, okay, I understand.
How did he time that out to do that just perfectly? So that train came by, right?
And kept acting, which was great because there was 5 of us there, and none of.
I liked how you took the stand and just moved it over like all the way to the train.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how did he time that out? And I'm thinking,
Stop.
What did you guys think, again, because some of these parts are scripted, but some of them are actually real-life stories that the people talking on the screen are actually using. So what did you guys think about the balance between the scripted versus the real stories?
It blended really well. It got to a point where you didn't know if what they were talking about was real or... There's a guy later on when he talks about his wife. It's like completely real. And then there's moments where you can hear someone talking like, I can get that. That probably is made up. But it was written in a way that it blended so well you had no idea if it was real or not.
So the scenes with the kids turned out a little different. It turned out fantastic to watch on film, but as far as the behind the scenes, what you don't know is that we were trying to, first of all, find the right park and the right side of the park, and once we got there, it was raining, and so instead of having all the kids actually stand in the rain and wait for us, we would have them wait in their cars, and then we'd bring them one at a time down to us, and then we actually split up. So Dan and Chris took one person at a time, and then William and I would do the other person. And so we do 2 at a time to get everyone through and hopefully not get them soaked. But it was a lot of fun. It was all mostly improv. We would ask them, what does love look like for you? And then see what they told us and see what came out of their own personal story. Now, Lee Spalt, he actually is highlighting his own beautiful work, and it was great to highlight local art. He put him in a trailer and traveled all the way to Farmington just so that we could use it in the scene. And it added a great visual element, and also it was great to highlight what he does and his heart for painting.
Hi, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So tell me, how did you get this role in Love Chronicles?
Well, I got up one morning and I was getting ready in the bathroom to go see a soccer game. And the TV came across and said that they were taking interviews for a movie at the Warenberg Theater. And I'm like, I want to go do that.
Had you ever done anything like that?
Never. I never even thought about it. So I called a friend and I said, we're going to the movies.
Did you tell her that you guys were going to audition?
No, not till we got there.
Really?
Yeah.
Did she audition as well, or just you?
She did. She came out with her chest very red because she was all broke out in hives. I said, just go in there, be yourself.
Okay, so you had a gentleman in the scene with you. How was it working with him?
It was good, very good.
And what role did he play?
He played my significant other, Paget. And I got there. I had not rehearsed my part very much. A little bit with some help, and he sat there and they helped me. He was great. So,
could you relate to your character at all?
Yes, I could.
All right, here we are watching Kalisha just overtalk Keith, and it's not only is he your co-star, but he's also a producer on this film, so it just seems wrong.
It is, but it seems right too.
What do you think about your scene partner and Keith?
They're really great. Actually, I was up there working the box office tonight and actually not seeing it, but hearing it, I remind myself of an auctioneer or something. I'm like, hearing myself talk so much, I'm like, oh my gosh, be quiet, But it was really awesome working with him, and he was great. I learned a lot from him and everything, and it was just a wonderful experience.
Well, you remind me, as I watch it here, you remind me of Denise's friend on the Cosby Show.
Yes.
That would.
Of course, God definitely remind me of her too.
Shout out to Vanessa Huxtable.
What's about that day was because it was so cold that I think originally weren't the kids supposed to be playing in the background and then kind of slowly brought to the camera so there would be action going on?
Yeah, Henry is another one of these great kids that came out in the cold and really expressed what was on his mind, his feelings on love. Great job.
But because it was so cold, the kids were sitting in their cars with their parents and their friends waiting for the time to go on. So we had to keep them warm and then bring them out in the rain and in the cold to interview them. So I loved how natural the kids answered, all the and the stutters and the nervousness. It added so much depth to the scene. So and good job also choosing like the black and white versus the color. It added some rawness and grittiness to the film.
Just behind that, when it came to the black and white, was always your handheld camera usually. There's exception with outside at the park, and that was just for sound issues. It really helped to change the sound, but generally black.
One of the things is when you're talking about which ones were roller derby girls and which ones were not, we shot the scenes with the roller derby girls, skating around the rink, getting all hot and sweaty. Dan was even running around the rink with the camera. It was quite a fun thing to watch, and not obviously be in because I didn't have skates, but to watch. The interesting thing is that when we were done with that, the women needed to take their pads off and their gear off, and then they passed over that sweaty gear to the other actors who were playing roller derby. So they got the pleasure of putting that on without anyone knowing how it smelled or felt. Yes.
How many of the roller derby girls were dating Hoyt?
Good question. Maybe that's in the sequel. We'll find out in the sequel how many he has. Yeah.
The roller derby girls were really fun because, so what's interesting about this scene is all the action shots are real roller derby girls, and they are here in Cape Girardeau, and then the scenes where we interview roller derby girls are actresses playing them, so they had to borrow their elbow pads and all their equipment and come and convincingly play roller derby girls, and they really did a great job. I don't think when you're watching the scenes you know that we have actresses playing the women who were actually out there really doing a lot of falls. So yes, these are actresses playing roller girls, really funny with their situations with their moms. I mean, the tragic. It was so fun to write sort of like a cult. It felt like I was writing an all-girl cult, plus one boy. And the notion that they would all take Sunday afternoon cuddles is just creepy to me, and therefore I love it.
I love that in the theater, every time that this scene is played,
Yeah.
that you get a kind of a gasp from a few people in the audience, like, I'm looking at a woman in a... Wait, that's not a woman? What am I looking at? So the realization that somebody's taking their shirt off, and then it's not a woman, and then it's a guy dressed up as a woman is
It's in the bathroom.
right, yeah.
And I love that you're the problem in the restroom.
I had to go buy that bra from Goodwill, and that was a fun experience. I don't think I washed it either. I thought he'd rather it be used.
Yeah, your mother.
Aw, Ma. I think that we need to go to you with this. Why did you cast her in this role?
My mom always, this magazine cover, Modern Menopause, appears in all of my films. And finally, my mom had the opportunity to actually play, she finally had the opportunity to play the woman that she is on the cover of the magazine. So I wrote her a whole bunch of, crazy dialogue about her own uterus, and I thought that was certainly appropriate when it came to my mom. And then that's your rival, and you didn't know that going into it. So did you even know you had, you knew because of your lines that you had a rival, but talk to me about your rival.
But I had no idea it was his mom, and didn't even know that until actually we saw the movie, and then I said, well, no wonder she got the cover of the magazine. She's the producer's mom,
Mother and son, here you are. First of all, did you know what Cody was going to say about you, in his interview?
Well, actually, to begin with, I thought I knew what he was going to say. But see, we had this whole new thing happen to us because we were supposed to have another person in the scene. So it kind of got changed around when our other person didn't show up. And so Cody had to change the whole thing.
Yeah, so Cody, what happened between you and I?
You pulled me aside and you basically said, the girl playing your sister didn't show up. She got cold feet. So could you learn all that she was supposed to say in 5 minutes? And I'm like, but sure, yeah.
There's only 9 jokes you need to hit.
Yeah, and he just said, just do your lines, but then there's certain things that you need to say. Don't forget to say loins. Don't forget to say...
warm milk.
Warm milk, and then...
Stretch marks.
Stretch marks, and I just went from there. And so, basically, you told me what to throw in, and I just added what I could.
Yeah, and your character had a little bit of a crush on Jessica. I can see right here on the monitor. It appears that we're looking at your character has a crush on Jessica.
Oh, absolutely.
Thoughts?
Well, I mean, he talks about her at the very beginning. Cute pie, and oh yeah.
Why does I had already told her hands off of my boy.
I felt like I was playing the redneck version of my family's kid, because they're very. They all have this crazy twang when they talk, and it's just everything's accented in a weird way, and so yeah, I just felt like I was mimicking my family in a way. So,
and he has a great family, by the way. He really, with his real mom, they have like a strong bond. I got to meet her, by the way, and I can see how he related to me because he relates so well to her. So he just kind of put that into motion, only made it more country.
What did you think of the fire knives? Did you really know that was going to go down?
Oh, that was awesome. I had no idea that was happening. I just thought it was, I really pictured twirling. That's all I thought was just knives being thrown in the air. But when she started doing that, I was like, that was awesome. That was pretty sweet.
I don't think that line about putting my kids through junior college was a joke or a dig on junior colleges. I think junior colleges are wonderful, fine institutions that help educate our youth.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Boom. Got it. Done. For the record, not a joke.
Really burned Cody's hair. I've never burned anybody. I didn't harm Cody in the filming of this movie or anybody else.
I had a question for some of these folks here. Let's talk about chemistry between these two in the car. Let's talk about just the nature of some of you who have more experience in acting know that can be a real challenge to capture. Let's go to one of our most experienced stage actors.
It's completely believable. I had no idea what their role was as a group. I knew they were filming the documentary, but I didn't expect. I had no idea what their story was. But
that's because I don't let any of you guys read the full script. That's why.
But when I watched it, it was very. You could just see that there was a spark there.
Jessica, you and Chris, all the banter all through the movie. I was wondering, how much of that did you remember word for word, verbatim, that you were just going by script, and how much of that were you kind of creating as you went, and how much artistic license did you have? Because it flowed so well, I thought, these are really good line rememberers, or they're really good at improvising.
First of all, thank you. Working with Dan, I've worked with him a few times, and he gives you that creative freedom, and in certain scenes more than others. I will have to say, though, in those scenes that you saw in the car, we actually shot all of them in a 2-hour span, and they are almost dead on to what the script was. So we did, actually, all of you guys got your script a couple weeks or plus before we did. Chris and I actually got our script maybe a week beforehand, and so we are both very much alike, we found, and that we put it in a binder. We used different color highlighters, but we went through and highlighted, and so it was just a lot of repetition. So yeah, Dan was sitting in the front seat, we'd go, okay, let's do this scene, we'd go over it once, and then we'd film. So thank you. Tell us a little bit about your line that explains what SWAT means.
Yeah, so there's a question that asks, what does SWAT stand for? And it's supposed to be singles with a testimony. And we had a few takes where I actually got it right. And then somehow, I think Dan said, say it with more attitude. And from that point on, it became singles with an attitude. Every time we took, we filmed it, every cut or every take was singles with an attitude. And they're like, you said it again. I'm like, really? It just could not get it out of my head.
Well, you had a little bit of an attitude because all of you women were just pawning over this gentleman here. Are you guys okay up here with him? Do you need me to leave?
Trying to get his attention, but then I heard him say he had a wife, and I was crushed. And then he said it was an ex-wife. And then I was interested again, so.
It was a roller coaster of a scene. You guys did a great job.
Crazy seeing myself on the big screen, but it was definitely so much fun. Brought back those great memories about shooting. It was awesome.
And you're well known in the film for doing something with your mouth. What would that be?
Well, you'll recognize me by eating a cookie, basically. And apparently that is my big time, my 15 minutes of fame.
Yes, and the sound of the crunching was actually looped a little bit, added onto that. So that's not all. You're really not that loud of an eater. I don't remember hearing you, so that's good. But that was added in, and it stood out.
Yeah, he actually mic'd me to try to get the sound of the crunch, but I guess it didn't come through enough.
And you came tonight with a family member, is that right?
I did.
And what did they think of the movie?
Well, my mom loved it. She loved seeing me up there, of course. Just the typical mother, just so proud of her daughter. I just did everything right in her eyes.
All right, Bill. Strapping sexy pants, Bill. Yes. Do you have those sexy pants on tonight? Davita, you tell me.
Oh, yeah. Whew, I just cannot keep my hands off him. It's that inner Earther kid trying to get out again.
It's a little weird for you to talk about Bill like that, considering he was your uncle in another film.
Yes, so
Yes,
Bill Conklin here played my uncle in a previous film. So, can you tell me, how were the chicken balls?
I never got the chicken balls. They took them away from me, but they look good.
Davita, do you think he would have enjoyed those particular chicken balls?
Absolutely not, because those chicken balls were made out of styrofoam and rolled in apple crisp. and then Frozen. So I don't think anyone would have enjoyed them.
It would have left an impression.
Oh, most definitely.
Yes, yes. And you
Sounds good to me.
Jack here spoke right from the heart. He's a very experienced actor, but he came and just sort of improvised his way through his little testimonial here. The script is very confusing because, it was a fully scripted movie. I bet 80% of it I wrote, but then another 20% is somebody like Jack here who just takes it and runs with it. No, I want to focus on these two guys.
I've worked with Kyle. I've done shows with Kyle, and he's amazing. He makes everything look really realistic. Well, you hand him a monologue, and he will do it, and you'll feel like it's him.
Yeah, they nailed it. This was a total downpour right here. We were over near a metal overpass. Oh, wait, does anybody know what road that was in front of?
We were trying to find it. Dan and I, we left lunch early.
It's Highway 74, and I love that it was a kid's umbrella from their little table.
So 7 a.m. I think it was. It was Dan and then William, our sound guy. William was in the very back of the van. Dan was actually sitting next to me in the front seat the entire time, but you didn't see him, holding a mic. And then, of course, Chris was always kicked to the back seat until the last scene. But we did 6 different scenes maybe in 2 hours. Is that right? So about 15 pages of script. We just did one after that. We'd rehearse it real quick, and then we'd shoot it. And then Dan would say, okay, let's drive somewhere else. And then we'd just go all around town. So, yeah.
I wonder how many people drove past us that morning thinking, why is that crazy lady swerving all over the place, talking to some random guy? Why are there cameras on her?
The jocks were fun. We're actually in a women's locker room here at SEMO at the university, and if you look on the locker room door, you might actually be able to see something that indicates that it's a women's locker room. But yeah, these jocks were great. They just wanted to make sure they weren't really naked under the towels, and of course they weren't. They a fun group of guys. All I remember is walking into the Women's Aquatic Center here at SEMO and watching those guys all sit out in the hallway rehearsing the scene on the floor with Kate Barton, who was our script supervisor. Kate was so invaluable as a script supervisor because, number one, she's a great writer. And then number two, it just really helps to have somebody rehearse because I don't really like to rehearse with the actors. I like to see the way it's done the first time. So I enjoy having my script supervisor out there rehearsing and really giving her own thoughts on how the scene. All right, your thoughts on watching Trey's scene the first time you saw it. What did you think of your brother?
Pretty impressive. I mean, it is his true life. It is what he battled and fought through. And that's another pretty cool story because he was told from a young age he wasn't going to get through school and much less play football and be as successful as he is in it. So he kind of overcame a lot of things and proved some people wrong. So I liked it.
It kind of gave the scene a turn, right? Because the scene starts off like a bunch of dumb jocks.
Yeah. Real lighthearted, and then all of a sudden he kind of wants to pull at the heartstrings a little bit. So he's not really like that in real life, but
he doesn't pull your heartstrings at all.
Not at all. He's rude.
What did you think when you first saw it? And don't beat yourself up. You were great in it. Everybody thinks so.
I think it was good. I really enjoyed it. I really didn't think I would sound like that. I mean, it's kind of hard because being hearing impaired, every time I get a new set of hearing aids or something, my voice always sounds different. Oh, okay. So I don't know what I would truly sound like.
Andy Cottrell here, he kind of came up with his own thing, spoke from the heart. This was not a scripted scene. This is just him improvising in the moment and did a great job.
Sisters are...
Those two that we are looking at are not sisters, but that is a daughter of Gina. And that was not their home. And not sisters at all, but I wanted to put them together. What I did as far as casting in this is I put y'all's faces on a big board with push pins, and y'all had your black and white, the little mug shots you took when you auditioned, they were down to this size. And because I have a lot of people to put on a board, and I just start moving people around according to age groups, hair colors, whatever, and then I really like to do unpredictable casting as well, so that it's not always. I mean, in like the case of you guys, you obviously look like that could be a possibility, but it just, to me, people just look like they belong or they don't.
All the kids were just adorable, and I absolutely love the little girl. The guy who reminds me of a young Tom Cruise, I can't remember his name. With the perfect hair, yes, him and his little
Yes.
sister, so freaking adorable. Yeah, it's like I see her like in Hollywood big screens, you know, like doing it for real, you know, and I absolutely love their scene. And I mean, she did perfect. I absolutely love it. So
Taylor is great in this scene. Taylor kind of did a monologue somewhat like this in her audition, and I liked it so much I thought let's rewrite it and give her something that works for our film. But so good at playing like that feisty redheaded. The cliched feisty redhead. I had Kate Barton write this scene because Kate is a great writer. Kate was our script supervisor. And for this scene, I said, hey, you want to write this scene? So get yourself an IMDb credit. So this one particular scene was written by Kate Barton. She did a beautiful job with this. And then Taylor did a great job of bringing it to life. I love this shot here with the shadow of the building structure. The sun hit it just right and shining on the wall. This is over near Cup and Cork. Jared and Alexis are so cute together. They are not being filmed in a dorm room. We sort of put that together, but the two of them do know each other from their acting and in their plays. They do go to school together, but they didn't audition together. They didn't know they were going to be seen together, so it was a pleasant surprise to find out that they had a friendship, number one, to build on that would really sell this close, intimate friendship. In many ways, this scene is patterned after me and my best friendship. In many ways, the scene is patterned after me and my real life best friendship with Jana. We met in second grade, and I faced some bullying in 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade, just like the character Jared's playing in the scene. So I so appreciate how Jared here is able to bring some of my own personal battle scars to life in a scene, and then we end in a nice lighthearted way. I think he had so much chemistry with Alexis.
But I knew she did that on purpose.
Okay, so this reindeer she brings in, this is a prop from my Christmas film, Expect Delays. It was blue in Expect Delays. If you see a scene in a college dorm where candles get blown out, it was blue in that scene, and now we've got it as an almond color in this movie. I love to recycle props.
Ask that question again.
I said we just passed the scene where Jill Worley and her children were there, and I just was curious as to whether her son really hit a golf ball through her car window and a baseball through the house window.
I assume so. I did not write that.
That wasn't your imagination, huh? Okay. I was curious about that because Jill, I've known her since she was a little tiny child. I taught her baton twirling lessons.
So Chad and Scully here, they play brothers of actor Bill Conklin, and they actually look like family. And Dan actually may have chosen Chad there because of matching dimples to his father, but they did a great job playing family. They actually, even after we stopped filming, have stayed in contact and talked to each other. So it's neat to see relationships continue after the camera shuts off. But they did a great job. We did it relatively quickly because they did wonderful, and they played off the characters great, and it adds a little bit of humor. It's one of the favorites of the audiences when they watch.
Okay, that was a mouthful to say. It's a mouthful to hear.
It was. It took me a couple times to get it right. Nine times. Yeah, trying to get that right. But the guys that played my sons, man, we actually resemble one another. And Chad and me, we have the same dimples. That's kind of cool. They, by the way, still call me Dad. I still call them Son. Whenever we're on that worldwide internet, we still talk.
With your self-published book.
Right. Yeah. When love meets an open hand. Did y'all get that yet? I'm still waiting, man. They're flying off the shelves, so
Autobiographical. Yes. Who's this guy?
He's my dad.
He's your dad. For how long?
Forever.
Your whole life?
Your whole life, 4 or 5 years, right?
4 or 5 years, yeah. Yeah. And so what scene were you in?
The one where I said, whenever I was talking about pets.
About pets and how you love them? Yeah. And what was the weather like outside when we were filming that?
Freezing.
Yeah.
What did you think the first time that you saw yourself sitting there in my basement, in my recliner? You got the good chair.
Yeah, I may have subconsciously decided mine. But no, I thought the scene turned out really good. when we filmed it, I treated it like I was just hanging out with my friends on a weekend. Hanging out, talking about comic books or movies or whatever.
Did you find it weird that there was an 8-foot tall painting of FDR in your comic book lab?
A little bit, yes. What? Because you talked about that being crucial to the scene. Was there any particular reason, or just you wanted to show off your big picture of FDR?
Yeah, that's what it was. It was crucial that I didn't want to lift that 8-foot painting and get it out of there.
That's a good excuse.
It's what happens when your partner is a history professor. The comic book guys. This is one of my favorite scenes. It doesn't get a lot of laughs because it's just an interesting kind of humor that maybe just appeals to me. I know Chris Murphy at the opening premiere night was laughing at the scene too, so maybe Chris and I, just being friends, this is our kind of humor. I think it's such a fun, for me it was, the scene came alive as I was writing it, once I determined that these guys were writing clean comics, that they were passionate about bringing comics like the Family Circus and Peanuts back to life. Okay, would you buy the comic strip that your character, let's look at this comic strip that your character is describing. Would you buy that?
With a little fine tuning, yes, I think I would probably give that a good read. Probably pick it up. Maybe a couple copies. I got some nieces and nephews and cousins that might like it. I don't know.
Would you like to see a dolphin and a panda bear trick or treat?
Oh, absolutely. I love dolphins. I have a tattoo of a dolphin, so it works for me.
It's very nice. I actually bought the first edition of the Corn Detectives. It's actually riveting. It's amazing. You guys should check it out. Absolutely.
Who did the illustrations for the comic books?
Actually, our script supervisor did, Kate. Yeah, she also has a role in here with. Yeah, she did. She did a great job. But I know she spent some time thinking it through and what to put on there. Yeah, she did a great job.
So one of the things that I like to do personally before I take on a new role is to do a lot of research about not only what the backstory may be, but how they look. And so when Dan said, you're going to play a filmmaker, I thought, great, but I know nothing about that. So I went online and looked up female documentarians to see kind of what they were wearing. And so over the course of a couple weeks, Dan and I would text and I would say, I got some glasses, or I have a few shirt options. And we just started putting pieces together. And actually, that's what we pulled off. So literally from what I wore on my head to what I was wearing on my feet were all put together to make it look like I was actually part of the crew. And it actually paid off because there were multiple times during our shoot where people would come up to me and ask me questions that you would ask a crew member, not necessarily the actress in the film. And so it's been funny to even see people who come to the theater and watch the film and then afterwards go, oh, I didn't realize that when you were on set, this is who you are. So it was I was kind of part of the fun to see how it all pulled together. Obviously, we did okay.
Man.
Why would you consider him a ladies' man?
Oh, man. Well, the beard, obviously. The beard. Like, what do you say? A pillowcase of kittens.
And your character had hair envy, right? Because you were the last to be born, the last to get hair. So is there a little bit of jealousy in there?
A little bit, yeah.
Very, very eccentric, very fun family.
Lovely.
I want a beard that feels like a pillow of kittens. Pillowcase of kittens.
Pillowcase full of kittens.
Yeah.
I love that. Can I touch your beard? Yes, you may.
No, this is Jessica. What was it like to touch the beard?
Yes.
It was like a pillowcase full of kittens. I didn't know if it was going to be awkward for him or if he would enjoy it. And he got a little smirk, so I haven't asked him what he thought.
This is Sammy Gross. What a beautiful girl. Comes out and does this for us very early in the morning, as you can tell by the position of the sun. That was one of the first shots of the day. She did a great job. I kind of threw that at her. I think she was scheduled to do a different scene, and then her scene partner didn't show up, which is not a good thing if you've committed to be in a movie to just not show up. This is Mallory. Mallory did a really fun job right there in front of the train. She added a little moment at the end that I love where she goes, absolutely not, or whatever she does. She just lips it. That is a great actress moment that isn't in the script that she adds that sells it. Jeannie did a really funny job in this scene. We never saw her at the premiere, and we haven't heard from her since, but she was a very funny member of the cast.
those ladies just go on and on and on. He has dated half the town.
Tell the story though about the ladies that they didn't actually know who their former boyfriend was when they actually filmed the scenes until they saw the movie. They had their script, their part of the script, but they didn't have the other part of the script. So when they came to premiere night, that's when they knew who their boyfriend actually was.
I want to know if Jessica was tempted.
Did you?
His mom and dad, Dale
He
and
got so many other women. Surely you would have been another notch in his belt.
Right? Right?
You know, I don't think a lot of men can handle more than one woman, so I think he had enough to take care of.
So this was shot at Cup and Cork. Cup and Cork is a great coffee shop in town. Everybody knows it and loves it. And we love Tina there and her shop. It's a great place to film. It's got gorgeous lighting. Love the wall of wine. These girls are so funny in this scene. This eye twitch is just... she had it on her resume and headshot that she could do an eye twitch. And you know me, I love a good tick. I love a good human tick. I love Hoyt's parents. I love Sandy's eyes. It's a highlight of the film. I think that, I kept having him rub his nose because I really love actors when they do business. To me, all those gross human ticks are actually what look real, and especially in a movie like this. So I told him to rub his nose over and over. Sandy is so funny. The interesting thing about her is she got cast just days before the film because another actress was in the role, and I kind of had Sandy. She was so good, I wanted to plug her in the last second. And then the fact that she had this bright red hair and totally looked like she could be these guys' mom, she came up and I made that woman run.
So Natalie here, she actually had to shoot this scene twice at different locations. We shot it once in Cape, and then the footage was lost. So she was so very kind to come to Farmington and reshoot it, and she did a great job. And with the pool now beside her, it was an extra little bonus and added quite a bit of humor to that scene.
Nose scratching, was that like him constantly, or because that's what I noticed? That's what I kept watching the father.
Dan had asked him to do as much normal odysseys around his
Because that was
face.
very funny.
Yeah, it worked out really well in there.
Did I tell you all to touch your face a lot? I mean, that is a thing I tend to tell people. I like a lot of... Oh, I told you to do that? So, yeah, so that was completely... I told him, never stop rubbing your nose, Yeah.
All right, that love always protects. Well, my parents love all of us, but it is I that they love the most.
And don't forget.
Oh, her hand just goes everywhere in that scene. Just all over him. It's just that.
This scene with the redhead rednecks, it's like a scene from Saving Private Ryan with a little bit of humor in there.
Like being hoisted up and all that. I mean, was that scripted, I guess?
No, what happened was on the war scene with the ice cubes and the broom, we did a few takes, but the gentleman, I believe his name is Robert, if I'm remembering correctly. Robert, during one of our takes, said, "I'm so sorry. I was army crawling, but by your legs. I hope I didn't trip you." And I was like, "Oh no, you're fine. You can do that." And I said, "And if you want, you can pick me up." And I said, "Do whatever you want, whatever you feel like." And so we did it again. And he picked me up, and it looks like I fell over, and it turned out fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, right on the heels of there's such a loving and the family scene, and they're going to heaven, and then you show this all and out brawl amongst the family. So that was with ice cubes.
With ice cubes.
That was great.
Well, I've lived here for 50 years, so the second time and then tonight I spent more time looking at locations. First time I was just basically watching the movie. But I could see where you were because you were at the Lutheran home. My grandmother ended her life at the Lutheran home. I lived down Bloomfield Road, so you were on Bloomfield Road. You were at the hospital. My wife works at the hospital, St. Francis. So I've been in all those parking lots and seen them in driveways. And
It's got to be kind of fun then to see your own city like that.
Yeah.
It was less, as I said on stage, it was less murderous than it was in Gone Girl. Yeah.
We had asked all the kids to come prepared to talk about something about love. And I would say some were, like her, were prepared and had a story to share. So you prepared ahead of time, right? You knew what you were going to talk about, even though your dad didn't?
Yes.
No.
And some kids came and did great, and just by us asking and prompting with questions. So if they weren't sure, we'd just say, okay, how old are you? Like we did in the film, and then go from there. And then you get great performances out of it. So we're watching the cheerleaders, and in particular, the one gentleman. Have any of you guys ever wiped snot on any of your dates? No. Do you think that's a valuable lesson to learn, to try?
No.
No. But it worked for him.
I'll probably get slapped or something.
It worked for him.
It did, in the movies.
You mean it wasn't real?
I think part of that story was actually real. Yes. Perhaps you got me.
We actually shot this scene. The cheerleaders from SEMO came in and reenacted this to make it look like lost cell phone footage. Of course, it's something we staged. Those are all of our beautiful background actors. We had 100 people come out that night to cheer on the scene. The sneeze that just happened is not real. That's a sound effect sneeze. People did. I don't think they knew what scene they were in, but I don't think they even knew he was wiping his leg on there. I wanted that to be a surprise in the movie. I tend not to want people to read the whole screenplay before they do the movie because I think it's fun for them to actually see the way their scene gets implemented into the movie.
The challenges of this scene of driving is that you not only are driving around town, in a town that you don't know very well, you're also trying to remember your lines for the scene. And then Dan, who's actually sitting next to me that you can't see the entire time, he hands me a phone and says, we got to get back quickly. This is our last scene. We got to pick everybody up. But here's the GPS. Follow my phone while you're getting there. So not only am I driving, trying to be a safe driver, and trying to remember my lines, but I'm also following a GPS along the way. And it's come up a couple times after people have watched it to figure out what in the world was going on. But literally, that was real time trying to get to the next place. And it worked out beautifully. And it actually took a lot of pressure off trying to remember the lines. It went pretty smoothly, better than I thought it might. It turned out great on film.
So, gentlemen, we're watching your scene. Tonight was your first time watching it, and you've seen it last week. Tell me, how was it seeing yourself on camera or on the screen?
Oh, it was kind of neat. I wasn't expecting myself to come out that way.
Yeah. Which way did you think you were going to
Well, I didn't think I did quite as good a job as I could have done because I was not aware at first I was going to play somebody with autistic tendencies who had been disturbed. So I had to get into that really quick, and it turned out much better than I thought.
Yeah. So the song you sang to was from Adam Kroc. Yes. Have you heard of it before?
No, I had not heard. Originally, I thought that was going to be that song from the Planters from the 50s, the Only You. And then I heard that one. But I got to meet him at the theater, and I found out that he's going to send it to me. But I didn't know what it was at all, but I really loved it because that one part, if you see one of the scenes, I did like this with the Only You, and the other one I didn't. I was glad to use that.
Good. Great. All right, Wesley, this was your first night watching your scene. Yes. What was it like seeing your face on the big screen?
It was really different. I was looking really forward to seeing my daughter. Not so much myself, but it turned out a lot better than I thought it would.
Do you think you'll want to do this again?
Yeah, as long as I have someone like Bobby here to help me get through it. I mean, his professionalism is what pulled it through, and the great direction. But yeah, I'd love to do more work. I thought it was really, it was a lot of fun, and I was able to do better than I thought I could.
I believe one gentleman who couldn't come earlier, and so we told him to come to the park. The gentleman who talks about his wife, that's a real story. Yeah, it's a heartfelt story, and it was really neat to include that in the movie.
Oh, Jamie, I loved her. The story of adoption resonates with a lot of people, and to hear her say that it was love at first sight for not only her but her adoptive mom, that is really something that is heartwarming and is easy to relate to because we all have that longing to be loved and have a forever home. So that story was really cool, and she was fantastic to work with. So Michael, who played a husband, out in the rain that we did an interview with. He was a lot of fun. It was a quick shoot because it was raining, but he was talking about his hair fetish and how he met his wife at Arby's and that it was up in this net, and it made for a lot of laughs when people watched it. And one of the famous lines that come up is that I asked him, what is the secret to a long marriage, long happy marriage? And he said, marry my wife. But then he turns and looks at actor Chris Murphy and says, stay away, Ben Affleck, you look better than me. And that usually gets a lot of laughs on camera. So he did a great job. And actually, we took photos after each of the scenes we did and sent it to each cast member just to give them a memory and also to help promote what we were doing in this area. And it turned out to be one of my personal favorites. Little did he know, when we took his picture, he was holding an umbrella in the rain, obviously, to stay dry. And so when we were taking the photo, we later looked at it, and he's holding it. It is Chris, and then Michael, and then myself, and then Dan. And he has the umbrella completely over Chris. And the rest of us are just getting wet. And so it became a humorous story that he probably won't know until he watches this, but not intentional, but completely hilarious.
All right, the scene playing out. So let's ask your impressions of watching your brother in this scene, playing the brother of Chris. What did you think as you were watching it?
He did a really good job. I was very impressed, and he did a better job than I did. So.
Oh, I don't know about that. Now, the reference to wanting to be a motivational speaker but not getting to bleach your teeth as white as Tony Robbins and Joel Osteen, it kind of didn't make sense because your teeth are really white.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I might do that a couple times here and there, but it rolled with it though. It fit. It went good. So.
Now, this is one of my favorite stories. This is Chris and Jeremy and Billy. They all play brothers. They look alike, but oddly enough, there's no relation. Chris's story is empowering and inspiring. It's hard not to just want to hear his life story more. And so we actually filmed him drag racing. Little do you know, though, I was not actually in the car. Although you think that when you're watching, Dan was in the car, got to fulfill one of his life dreams of going in a car really, really fast around the corner. But
Was that Dan screaming?
It was not Dan screaming. It was actually me. But what we did is we went to a parking lot, and I drove in circles and pretended to scream and be afraid. Little do you know is if I was in that car, I'd probably be going, woo, and a different type of scream than in fear. But it turned out great.
You tell them a little bit about the cheat. We're watching the drag race scene right here. Tell them about the cheat. It sounds like Jessica was in the car, but you were on set.
Yeah, and it was not Jessica. It was Dan. He had to take the ride. He wanted the ride. So.
How do you explain the screams heard? Do you think that was me?
No, that definitely wasn't him. Definitely not. But I don't know. That's your magic.
Okay, we're watching your scene. We're watching you. This is not your sister, correct?
No, it is not. Nope.
And did you have any prep time? Talk about, did we rehearse on this? Did you rehearse?
No. Well, I did. But, beforehand, no, we didn't get together and talk about what, you wanted from us and all that other stuff. So I was oddly calm, before I left the house. And then as we got closer and closer to the scene, where we were shooting, I just started hyperventilating more and more. But then when we started shooting the scene, it was just, everything just kind of melted away. And everybody in the background, I just, just melted away, and I was just there doing the interview.
Oh, that's great. And it probably helped that your scene partner looked totally like she could be your sister.
Yeah, she's a little short, but yeah, for me, but yeah.
Love always. Are you ever critical of how you look in the scene?
1,000%.
Yeah. I looked at my eyes and thought, my God, those bags are so heavy. I need someone to carry them.
There you go with that.
Oh my God! It's like I need ice cubes to try to get these eyes so puffy.
They don't look so bad. Come on, give yourself a little credit.
You say such nice things.
Where did you guys shoot this scene?
We shot it in Farmington, Missouri. I could not make the weekend. I was on a family vacation. And so I guess Ethan sent me an email asking if I'd like to do a scene in Farmington. And of course, yeah, exactly. So that's how I got up to Farmington.
Did the scene play out exactly like you thought it would, or how'd it go?
Well, I really didn't have any expectations. I was a background extra in another movie, and that took forever. And I think we had this thing done in 4 or 5 takes. And I'm like, wow.
That's the way Stedman likes to work.
Stedman worked so quick, and I'm like, okay, cool.
So you're hearing some music in the background. That is from Zach Shelton and 64 to Grayson. We were lucky to find them and excited to use their songs. But little do you know, it is actually not playing while Chris and I are doing our scene. Dan played it in his car at an entirely different time and taped the sound while he was driving around with that song so it would sound natural. And then he looped that in after we had filmed the scene. So those little tricks that you don't always know what's going on behind the scene, but it worked out beautifully.
So I'm looking here at the footage, and that doesn't really look like who's standing next to me right now. What happened?
He had asked me when I talked to Dan on the phone. He said, "You made the cut, good news, and told me kind of about my scene." He was just like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna be in the woods, so don't wear any makeup." It's like, oh.
That's what every woman's dream role is. Yes, there's no makeup.
I'm just like, you think maybe I could do something, Yeah, this without makeup, it's much scarier than what you saw.
You did have some things. You did have some color on your face, though. What was that all about?
It's face paint, and actually the design that I did was the water bird, which is a bird that is seen quite a bit on my cousin's reservation in North Carolina. They're always coming in and swooping in on the Oconaluftee River.
Oh, neat. And the song that you sang, tell me a little bit about that.
I wrote that when I was 17. I got my heart broken quite a bit, and I wasn't quite as promiscuous, I guess you could say, as a lot of the other girls. I held on to my virtue for quite a long time, and guys don't like that.
It's okay. They're worth waiting for, the ones that like virtue.
Yes.
And so, how old were you when you wrote that song?
I was 17.
17. Is this the first time you performed it?
Yeah, in front of people.
And now it's forever documented in the movie. How about that?
Exciting? Yeah, actually it is. Very much so.
And so we did a scene together where you're talking about your bows and you're wearing the bear fur. I'm not saying this correctly, but you get the gist. Is all of that actually your stuff, or are those props that you brought along?
Yeah, that's actually my stuff. We have an archery company, and so we make bows and arrows and all kinds of different primitive weapons, actually. And the bear fur, actually, one of the things that we do is we do rendezvous, which is pre-1840s demonstrations that people can come and witness, and we kind of act out the way people used to live back then, and that's one of our costumes.
Well, one of the scenes that always gets a laugh is when you are talking about your arrows and how you like to throw them up and just see where they land and see if you don't get hit. How did you keep a straight face?
I did not realize that I had.
But you pulled it off.
Yes.
Well, great job.
Let's go on the co-stars. What are some of your favorite? What are some of her favorite parts of their stuff? Because they were off doing their own thing a lot of times.
Oh my God, I could not figure out how they kept straight faces. Actually, I mean, every time you throw a piece of trash in the woods, a kitten dies. Total deadpan. I mean, how do you do that?
And we were probably in those woods longer than any other scene I think that we did. We were out there for quite a while, and it was one of the first scenes that we actually did. And oddly enough, it ended up at the end of the film. So there are 3. What's that? It was the very first scene. Yeah, that's true. Got the bitter cold going. So 3 ladies with you, chicks with sticks. And so you told about a couple lines that you had. Did you get a chance to talk to them beforehand? Did you? No. So the chemistry had to come fully from acting, right?
Yeah.
Did you anything resonate with you that they talked about?
Well, I still can't get over the kitten thing. I mean, that just cracks me up. I mean, every time I see it, like on the leaves. Oh my goodness, I really liked the scene. Some of it got cut out, but I really liked the scene where we were beating the laundry. And originally I was talking about how we did that because you don't want to get wet in the winter. And he told me how funny that was because just earlier you guys filmed them bathing in the frozen river.
And a lot of that scene was improv. A lot of you guys came up with your own lines, so it worked out really well.
Nice to see that one.
This is actually the first time I've been to Cape is coming up here for the auditions and for the filming, and I want to tell you, I absolutely love the Cape. I mean, I'll be back. I mean, I feel like I know everything now. I've been to all these locations. I love it. I love the people here. I love everything about it, and I'll be back.
One of my personal favorite scenes to film is this one right here, where I'm coming up the hill from having interviewed the women in the woods, and we actually did that 4 or 5 times, but it was literally muddy. I came up from that hill having mud on my bag and my clothes, and when Dan had asked me to do it, it's probably the most adventure I've ever done on a shoot, so it was a lot of fun, and hopefully you can't tell what is actually falling for real and what's not, but it was quite an adventure to get up that hill with all that equipment. So this scene, we originally shot it with myself and Dan Stedman, but you don't hear his voice. What we did is Chris Murphy was out of town, and so Dan asked him to listen to the scene and react to it. And so he actually, from an entire different state, and in a hotel room on a business trip, he actually did the audio for this scene, taped it, and then sent it to Dan to use. And then that was looped over, so you don't hear Dan, you hear Chris, as if he's actually in the car, and little do you know, he is states away.
Well, the goal was I didn't want to take it I didn't want to take the story past the question of the date. To me, that was enough. Now you, the audience, can decide whether they went on that date. Let's take a survey, Eric. Did they go on their date on Tuesday?
I'm going to go yes, and here's why. I think you could honestly, with their chemistry, take this into a second film. I think they've got it.
So there we are. We're heading back to Cape Girardeau on that beautiful bridge. One of my favorite visual elements in this whole film, because that bridge to me says Cape, and it was a fun scene. It was one of the last scenes, obviously, of the film, but we don't always shoot in order, and so I was excited about that one. One, because of location, but also because you see the whole film come together and see how Chris Murphy's character and mine see where it may lead, and it still leaves you with questions of what's going to happen next. But loved the GoPro that we used because it caught the reaction of my character actually responding to Chris asking me out on a date, and those little bits of that you see the eye in the viewfinder. Dan Stedman came up with that idea, and I thought that was brilliant. Love that little snippet of emotion that you get to see from the character.
I mean, and I think I covered this a little bit when I was on stage, but I looked at everything and I thought, we have varying degrees of acting ability, experience, and so forth. Like, I have 0, and I know some people have quite a bit, and some, it's all in between. And just the way that you took everything and put it together and created this piece of art I thought it was amazing. It was really good. I mean, it really was good.